Hello everyone, my name is Cole. In today's video, the lighting is bad, I still need a new microphone, and I have my logo on my shirt. What we're really going to do in today's video is we're going to attempt to rank every LEGO Speed Champions set in the new 8 stud wide format. Now, to do this, I enlisted the help of a couple friends. You guys will probably know some of them. We have Nard of NV Carmox on Instagram and Rebrickable, Leo of Leo1Lego, also on Instagram and Rebrickable, Owen of Custom Creations on Instagram, Rebrickable, and YouTube, and Ilya of Ilya Builder 724 of Instagram, Rebrickable, and YouTube. In fact, Nard of NV Carmox designed this logo, so if you should be following him already, but if you're not, I advise that you do so. Of course, I advise that you follow all these guys. They're very cool people. So, some context, we're using the tier maker website thing, so I'll link to that if you want to rank these sets yourself. All of the Speed Champion sets are on this list, but we are only doing the 8 wides because this video has already turned into a podcast because of how long it took with just the 8 wides, and so we decided not to do the 6 wides. Maybe we'll do them another time if you guys really like this. And basically, we're just doing it over Discord call, so sorry if the audio is suboptimal. I've edited it, and I feel like you should be able to tell what we're saying at the very least. And with that, I recommend you get some snacks or something and sit back and relax because this is a very long video. And if you're not very into Speed Champions, I don't blame you if you skip this one because it's a beast of a video. That doesn't sound right. Anyway, enjoy. Alright, so we have Owen of Custom Creations. We have Leo, who some of you will know as Leo1Lego on Instagram and Rebrickable. We have Nard, NV Carmox, who some of you will know from Instagram and Rebrickable. And we have Ilya Builder 724, who you will know from Instagram, Rebrickable, and YouTube. Alright, so ranking the 8 wide Speed Champions. We're starting with the Ferrari F8 Tributo. Now, I think this is a pretty good set. I think it's a good representation of the F8. It's not like a super pretty looking model, but I think they did a good job. And so I'm gonna say B tier among knowing what other 8 wides exist.
Yeah, I think this was decent. It was one of the first like 8 wide sets. So if you consider that, it's pretty good. Parts wise, I think it's pretty decent overall. Yeah, I'd give it like a pretty average B.
Well, as Owen said, it's one of the first ones. So it's not bad for first try. Introduced that new windscreen with a useful like plain print as well, so that was good. It looks all right. Kind of struggles to represent the curves of the real car, but I can see they've tried to do what they could. So I think I'll agree and say B tier. Not bad, but not great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think this one's very much to me like the 6 wide Ford Fiesta, where you have an 8 wide model which looks very good, but not necessarily represents the car it's based on. And I think this is for me probably the worst age 2020 Speed Champion set with all the new elements they introduced. They just managed to capture more of the details and make cars more accurate. So to me, while it looked good, it aged very poorly, so I'd go for a B tier as well.
Oh yeah, I can disagree with previous statements. Like the thing is, it's just a very hard car to replicate with limited techniques that LEGO designers use to make the model durable. So it's B tier for me.
First of many beaters, probably.
Next up, we have the Nissan R35 GTR, which is based on a drift car, I think, in real life with delivery. So I think it's pretty good. I'm gonna say C tier because if you take away if you were to take the rear the quad taillights and you take away some stuff, it looks rather generic and not like a particular car. And there are a couple it's a little bit overscaled. I feel like it looks too big. Obviously it's an early 8 wide, so it's kind of an excuse there, but I'm going to say C tier, honestly. I feel like it's a little bit worse than the F8.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. It relies on stickers a little too much, and it's a little bit blocky, but I think overall it's decent. The rear is pretty good, and it was the first Japanese car and also the first Speed Champions car, I think, to have that new, I'm not really sure what it's called, but that new windscreen piece, which is really useful for a lot of other cars. So if you take that into consideration, I give it maybe a B. But I could see where C would come from.
For me, it's got to be bottom end of C or maybe top of D, because I mean it doesn't look really bad, but it does really heavily rely on stickers, and it's got this massive print on the bonnet. It's just it then doesn't work if you don't apply the stickers. And I mean, personally, I just don't really like it very much as well, which doesn't help. Proportions are just wrong. The wheels look too small compared to the body. As we've said, it's just kind of quite generic. There's some gaps around the front, like there are these curved pieces that are sideways, but they just don't really join onto the body. So yeah, there's got to be low C, top of D. I don't like it.
Yeah, for me, C tier as well, because I'm not necessarily bothered by the livery. I can understand why people say I'd rather have just a standard GTR. But I think the livery actually has quite a nice distraction of what's actually quite, a poor model. Like you said, the wheels are too small, which is generally something that 8 wide struggle with sometimes. But I think this is the worst offender of the small wheels debacle. And like you said as well, the almost like hamster cheeks for the front bumper, which in a very weird way they managed to capture that. It's got some nice details like the rear end, and personally I do like the livery. Like I said, the F8 Tributo is the worst aging model. I do think this one overall looks worse just because mostly the small wheels. And there's some little issues proportionally it has. So for me, it's C tier as well.
I think it might be for me in a G tier because like the model feels like too giant compared to the other 8 wides, like that came in the same year or the further models that like released, and like livery is looking good, but still the model looks it has some problems with proportions, and like while the rear end looks pretty good, the rest of the car is just really sticker dependent, and like without the stickers you can't even tell that it is a R35 without looking at the rear end.
All right, I think the average of that is going to be like C tier.
Yeah.
Next up is the Audi Quattro, or this is like the model of the most aggressive Group B Quattro that existed. I think this is a really good one. I'm going to say A tier. I think it's really well done. I think they're stickers, but they're all used quite nicely. The livery looks good. I mean, I'm kind of biased because I just really like this car, but I think they did a pretty good job. And a lot of it is brick built. I don't think there are any like actual details, or very few actual details or stickers. And I just really like this one. So I'm going to say A tier.
All right. I will agree and say A tier because it's nothing particularly special regarding the building techniques or anything like that. But there is a good reason for that, and it's because the real car is quite suited to being in Lego. So as Cole said, details can be brick built, which is obviously always a good thing, and it just looks great. But there just wasn't anything extra special to take it into S tier, so it's A tier.
Yeah, so I agree with Leo on pretty much everything. As you said, it's like it's a fairly basic model, but it also just looks really great. It translates just the boxy design translates really well into Lego. I just really like when they have like the front ends with like when the lights are not stickers and the indicators are just like actual transparent pieces. So it just looks like really satisfying in that matter. And the overall proportions are good, so I'd give it probably an A tier.
Yeah, I think I can agree. A tier, good looking model. Quite an underwhelming building experience though. This was for me the first 8 wide I built. So coming from 6 wides, you expect some more interesting stuff and some more techniques and overall a bit more complexity, which this model just doesn't have. So that's definitely something that brings it down, but it is a model that translates pretty easily to 8 wide, and doesn't really require a lot of complex building. I think the only thing they really dropped the ball on also is the roof design, which has a lot of studs, which I can understand for the 4x6 style / plate they used, because you need for Lego standards to meet, you need a strong roof that can easily be removed, and that piece they use is probably the closest that comes to that allows for the room for a sticker with enough smooth areas. But then they also put some wedge plates behind it to even double the amount of studs, which is a very weird decision for me that LEGO made, because I think the wedge tiles already existed by then. So yeah, that's pretty much that, and the rather boring building experience is what bring it down for me, but it's still definitely an A-tier set.
I think I might repeat the same, like the judgment here. Like the thing is, like this model, this particular car, like translates really well because of its like simplistic design in real life, and it translates really well into Lego. So, like the designers did a great job on this one, but like despite this being one of the first big champion sets, so like it's an A-tier for me.
All right, then it is going in A-tier. All right, next up, the Jaguar 2-pack I-Pace race car and Formula E car. A really good parts pack. Both, I don't really care about either car. The SUV has some nice techniques in the front. The Formula E car looks quite a bit like a Formula E car, but neither one is especially interesting to me, so I'm going to say B tier.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of a weird choice of cars in this set. I couldn't really care that much about Formula E, and the SUV was decent. The build techniques were good, and as you said, the parts were decent, but overall design just puts it for me in a B tier.
I'll agree. I haven't built it personally. I don't like. I mean, personally, I just don't like the idea of like an SUV race car. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But the Formula E car looks a bit weird, but like Formula E car, the color's nice, but yeah, nothing amazing. So yeah, B.
True. Yeah. For me, it's probably a C tier even, because two pretty generic builds. The only real interesting thing for me is the front of the E-Pace, I think, which has some funky stuff in it, but nothing special. C tier for me.
I think it's a B tier for me. I own the set. Like, I really liked both cars, but they're not something really special. They're just a big SUV and a Formula E car. So, yeah, the most important thing here and the most interesting, as it was said before, is the color.
All right, so that is going at the bottom of B.
Yep.
The F8.
Behind Ferrari, right?
Next up, the Lamborghini 2-pack with the Huracan, Super Trofeo, and the Urus. Neither is especially remarkable build. The Huracan is a nice looking Lego car. It looks close enough to a Huracan. I'm also going to say B tier. The Urus is a fine build, but not especially pretty. So yeah, B tier for me.
Yeah, I might put it a little bit lower. I'm definitely not a huge fan of the Urus. It's just like it's too like blocky and I don't know, like chunky for me. The wheels and the wheel cover like selection was kind of weird, and overall the techniques were, I mean, they weren't too great, but the color was good. So I guess for that I give it probably a B.
I haven't built it again, but the Urus looks really ugly, so very accurate to the real car, which is always good to see. But I don't think it has many interesting techniques. Just by looking at it, it looks kind of like just a big block. But the color is nice, so we'll give it that. The Huracan looks okay, kind of sticker dependent again to get the nice colors. So probably a C, maybe bottom of B.
Yeah, for me, you say sticker, relies on sticker, which is pretty obvious indeed if you have a speed champion and it needs to meet the standards for Lego. Lamborghinis aren't the easiest cars to replicate, so I actually think they did a very good job with the Huracan, and on the model itself, I'd probably put it in A tier. But then again, we have the Urus, which is a very simple model, has a pretty rushed interior as well. Some nice elements like the sides, but it does bring the set down a lot. So I'd say a B tier as well, above the Jags, but not the same standard as the Ferrari.
I think I agree with this thing. Like this set totally deserves a B tier. Maybe it's a bit better than the Jaguar 2-pack, but yeah, while the Huracan looks like pretty decent, like for the first speed champion sets, but the Huracan is like the Urus. The thing is, if you stack a lot of bricks together, like from a far away, it just would look like a brick. So yeah, the Huracan is like a small problem in this set. That's rather big.
All right.
Yeah.
That is going in like B in between for
The middle, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next up, the Koenigsegg Jesko. A set that I was quite excited for because of the Koenigsegg license. Which just, I mean, that the fact that it is a Lego Koenigsegg makes it cooler regardless of the model, I feel like. The model itself is pretty good. I'm going to say B tier as well, probably top of B, because it looks a little bit blocky for such a really like smooth and rounded car, especially the windshield. So yeah, I'm going to say B.
Leo,
Yeah, you're just gonna have to
maybe-
hear me out on this one, but I think it's a D tier. This might be a bit controversial, but I just feel like for a start, it just looks really ugly, right? Because it's got this really angular front, even though the real car is like full of curve. So that just already kind of gets rid of the whole beauty of the real car, which is obviously not a good thing. Also, it has the really, really thick splitter. It's like 2 plates high, which I think on the real car is probably a lot thinner than on the Lego one, which is saying a lot because the Lego one's a lot smaller. And there just aren't really any interesting techniques, just like the bonnet slopes down a bit, and that's kind of it. And the rear wing is really thick, and the windscreen print is not matched to the white bricks properly. Although I know that's a problem with a lot of sets these days, but still, the things there. So, and there aren't really many alternates from it that I've seen, although I haven't tried to make one myself, so I can't judge that too well. So I think it'll go down in D.
Okay, well, I wouldn't be that harsh putting it in D, but I can see why this isn't a very particularly good model. Like you said, the David Coulthard splitter is definitely the worst element about it. And the spoiler as well, which is really chunky, while it's obvious because Lego has to be strong. Lego sets have to be strong and sturdy and easy to build, but Lego might have thought about maybe trying a different Koenigsegg than this one. I think this one's just a bit too far beyond their reach to really represent accurately. So kind of dropped the ball on it, and for me it's a C tier. Above the GTR though.
But I don't really think I have anything to add, so I'm just gonna skip that one.
It's shit basically.
Yeah.
All right, that means I think that's like going to be top of C.
Yeah,
GT.
get a bit of variety in there.
All right, next up is the Toyota Supra, the Mark V, the modern Supra. I think it's a decent set. I'm gonna put it in C tier. 'Cause it's a very similar to the GTR. It's a bit oversized. It's a bit maybe generic looking without the sticker details. But I think Lego did a pretty good job. But again, nothing like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing type of stuff. So yeah, C tier.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like Lego can't really get the proportions of like JDM cars right, it seems. It's like, yeah, as you said, it suffers from the same like small wheel problem, kind of too chunky. But yeah, the front obviously uses a lot of stickers, so that's kind of a minus. But for a parts pack, I think Ilya will touch on that. It's really great, and also it does still use that like windscreen that I really like. So for that, I'm gonna give it probably like a low B, maybe high C.
For me, the only thing keeping this out of D tier and probably in C tier instead is just the part selection, how good it is for alternates, which, I'll leave Ilya to talk about because he knows a lot about that. But yeah, as Owen said, it's just the proportions are bad. It's reliant on stickers for the headlights, which is quite a big one. And yeah, it just doesn't really look like the actual car.
All right. Well, I'm going to be a little bit less harsh because I think actually proportionally it's pretty decent. Especially, when you look at it from the side and the rear, it's pretty good actually. I can understand why it's a bit chunkier and definitely needs to be scaled down to fit with other 8 wides, but that's kind of what you get when you have to make cars this scale. We also see it with the Creator Expert class where they're not really able to get them all proportionally accurate or scale-wise accurate because some cars just have different proportions that translate differently in 8 wide. But you know, the headlights are very lazy and very unfinished. Even it has a bench for an interior, so there are just those little elements which bring it down. For me, it's a B tier though.
I don't want to turn this video in a lecture about how good this set is, but I'm just gonna say, like, it has a lot of interesting techniques used in it that helps a lot with making the set inventory a lot more interesting when you like do alternative builds. Like, and I also can say like this set is one of the sets that really changed like this champions like building styles communities because of like how many modifications for this set and how many alternatives for this set exist. So yeah, for me it's an A tier, like maybe low part of the A tier because like it's a set not without the problems.
Yeah.
You know this set probably better than any of us.
I feel like this might be also like the most popular Speed Champion set
Yeah.
as of like
It's
the ones that
Yeah,
I
it's almost like
I see these
I
videos
think
everywhere.
it's still doing guitar.
I think the average of all those scores is going to be like top of B, or maybe middle of B, I think.
Put it in, and we got two T tiers, so C tier. So I maybe put it bottom B or
Yeah.
B for the Jags, maybe. Yeah, I think
I agree with
I
that.
think it's good. Yeah,
Okay.
before the Jags, yes.
All right. Next up, McLaren Elva. I think a pretty good set, honestly. I feel like there's some very interesting techniques used on the sides and the rear, where all like the diffuser details and the side details and stuff. I think it's not super pretty because it has a lot of like jagged, like, but it looks a bit jagged in places because of all the wedge parts. But I actually rather like it. I'm gonna say top of B.
I don't think this model has anything really special to it, to be honest. And like, as in just like the build, the color, the techniques, and just the looks in general. Yeah, I guess for all that, I would put it in like probably a C tier.
I haven't built it again, but by looking at it, I can see it's got some decent techniques. It actually represents the real car quite well. I don't like the look of the real car, but it does a pretty decent job. So I would say top of B, I reckon.
Very underappreciated set, I'd say. Because for me, it's actually, surprise, an S tier. Because I think it actually just represents the car really well. Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's nothing really particularly special about it, but it's not like the Audi. Well, the build is very boring and not interesting. It's got a lot of good stuff about it, especially around the sides and the fact that it uses axes for the rear lights. And so there's a lot of good stuff about this one, I think, and it's for me probably the most underappreciated Speed Champion set. So I put it in S tier.
I agree with Nart here. It's actually a pretty good set. Like it looks very very close to the real thing. Like despite some like bare stats. I own this set and I can say for sure that this one might be the closest one they could get with Lego to build this car. Like, so yeah, for me it's I'm gonna be a little bit harsh because like I said, just a bit lazy with just a bit of stickers like that could be easily replaced with some prints to make this stickerless. But yeah, it's maybe A tier for me.
All right, I think the average of all that is going to be the bottom of A tier.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Next up, the Corvette 2-pack, the C8R and the C3. These are both fine. I like the dark red in the C3. I like the model choice of the C8R. I feel like neither is a really good looking model. C8R is very sticker heavy. I'm gonna say low B tier.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I'm not a huge fan of the C8. I think the C3 looks decent, especially for like what you can do in Lego because it's a very curvy car in real life that it would be pretty hard to recreate. But I think they still could have made it a little bit smoother. So for that, I'd probably put it in probably low B tier.
top of B tier for me, because building techniques, there's nothing really special. It's all pretty standard stuff. But they look quite good, and it's nice colors. And I know the C8R uses stickers for the stripe, but you can kind of brick build it, which I've done before. So it's not like you can change it to your preference if you want. So I reckon kind of top of B.
For me, a difficult one, because for me, like the C8 is for me one of the weakest speed champions ever built. Relies very heavily on stickers, both for the front and rear lights, plus delivery, which is obvious. Doesn't really have a lot of special techniques. C3 for me is a bit more interesting, does look better, but still relies on stickers in areas where I would like to see brick build details. Has some very sharp edges where they all should be curved. So I think a low B, probably above the Jags though.
I think for me it's not a very good set like compared to the set that came before it, because like the C2, like it feels like really blocky, like despite the car being curvy in real life, which like it just didn't somehow build it to make it look more curvy. And the C8 is just very sticker dependent, and without the stickers you couldn't even tell like that this car is in fact a C8. So yeah, bottom of the B tier.
All right, I think that is where it will be going.
Yeah. Can you find it?
All right. Next up, the Dodge 2-pack with the Funny Car and the Challenger. I think the Challenger is a really good build. I have not built it myself, but it just looks really cool. It's in purple. I'm gonna say this is a higher B tier. I'm gonna say top B honestly, because I think the Challenger is a really good build. I don't really care about the Funny Car. Actually, it's not even a Funny Car. It's a top fuel dragster. I guess it's a fine representation of a top fuel dragster. The rear wheels are too small. I'm gonna say top of B just because the Challenger is so good.
Yeah, I feel like Lego does it a lot where they put in like, well, they have a 2-pack with like one really good looking car, then one just like car that they kind of throw in there. But yeah, so for that, I really wish they would have created the Challenger just a 1-pack. I could see actually why like the dragster would appeal more to younger audiences. I think that would make sense. But overall, I think the Challenger looks really great, especially in the purple. So I'd put it probably in a higher B tier.
I'll agree, higher B, because purple car is nice to have it in purple, of course. I don't think there's anything special regarding techniques on that one though. And the funny car, as we call it, is not great. It's got quite a few stickers and the back wheels are too small. So just somewhere around the B tier.
Well, I'm actually going to correct you on the Challenger, because it actually has a lot of great techniques. It's a really fun build. Probably one of the most fun building experience I've had with an 8 wide. So for me, that's a set that really surprisingly impressed me. And I think that set alone is good enough to carry this set for me to A tier. Like I don't care about the dragster either. It has too small wheels, but other than that, there isn't a lot about it that's bad about it. I think it's got a lot of nice details. It's a good parts pack. Got a lot of interesting elements. And yes, I don't care about it, and I know a lot of other people don't care about it, but I think just the Challenger alone is such a good set for me. And yeah, the dragster, nothing really wrong with it apart from the wheels. But I don't think that's for me enough to really drag this set down too much. So I'd say an A tier, low A tier, but still A.
I kind of agree with that. Like it may be the most unusual dual pack set, but despite of this, the Challenger looks really, really great. Like plus some points for the color choice. Like they didn't release any other cars in purple after that. So yeah, it's not just rare. It's also just a very good looking car. Like I'm not really a big fan of dragsters or funny cars. like the others said, I'm not really interested in the Top Fuel Dragster, but I'm really interested in the Challenger. Yeah, I would like to get this set. Future, maybe top of the A tier because like the Challenger truly like leave the set above.
All right, so that will be going in top B tier, I think. Like average.
Yeah, I'd say the best of the B tiers.
All right, Ford Dual Pack, Ford GT, and Bronco. It's not Bronco R. I can't remember what it's called. The Bronco Trophy Truck. I think, yeah, I'm gonna agree with Nard. What Nard just said. S tier. Ford GT, a really great build, good techniques, looks good, great color. Same goes for the Bronco, although I don't really care about it as much, but it looks really cool and it's got some really crazy techniques inside of it. So yeah, S tier for me.
Yeah, S tier for sure. I feel like it's one of the rare sets where they have a dual pack with two just like really good looking cars, and also just like I haven't actually built it, but I've heard that the build experience is really good. So with all that said, I'd put it definitely in S tier.
S tier for me. I don't think I need to explain myself. It's already been said.
Yeah, S tier, two top five models in a set. Best speed champion set made. S tier.
Without any extra commentary, S tier.
And so it goes in S tier. Next up, Ferrari 512M. I'm going to say another S tier because great techniques, great looking model, really good building experience, and that's kind of all there is to it. So yeah, S tier for me.
Agreed. I would put in S tier. Yeah, I mean, basically all what you said, I agree with.
For me, also S. Not as good as the Fords, definitely below them, but still a really great model and as good as you can do with Lego, I think, while still, being strong and everything.
Yeah, same S tier. It is, however, a very chunky model again. Proportionally, it doesn't really match with the other ones. I mean, I put it next to my own 917, and it scales totally inaccurate, even though they should be the same cars, basically. But, what they managed to achieve with this one, pretty incredible build. So easy S tier for me.
Same here for me. Like, despite the model being too giant for the like regular 8 white cards, it has a lot of details, like unusual build that is still strong enough to be played with. Like S tier definitely.
All right, into S tier it goes. Next up, the Lotus Evija, a decent set. I don't like the final build that much, but I really like the dark green. It has a couple interesting techniques around the back with building various directions. I'm going to say top of B tier, I think.
I would probably put it a little lower. I'm not a huge fan of this set and just like how it looks in general. The techniques are pretty good, but just the car really doesn't translate great into Lego. So with all that said, I'd probably put it into like a C tier, maybe a high C.
It's mid B for me because the color's really nice. There's quite a bit going on around, and whilst it might not be like completely accurate, it kind of gets most of the features in there. And yeah, it just looks quite nice apart from that print on the windscreen, which is pretty annoying because that yellow line is just way too high up. So it has to go in the middle of B for me.
Yeah, I'm split between C and D. I really don't like this set. Like you said, the window printing, which I was okay with when it released, but now since Lego has fixed that issue, I'm kind of surprised Lego never really tried to fix that on this one when that came out. So that drags the model down for me a lot. Also, just the overall shaping isn't really accurate, I think. Looks pretty awkward in some areas. Nice brick build rear lights though, that's good. But yeah, not enough for me to save the model, and also I don't like the colors. dark green is not a livery this car suits, I think. So when this one came out, I would have preferred it if like bluish gray or Keat orange had made a comeback, because I think those two colors suit this car just a lot better. So you know what? I think it's the worst one so far, but it's D tier. Yeah, D. I'm gonna put for D.
I'm not going to be like so harsh about this model. This car is just not doesn't translate well into the Speed Champion scale. It has just a lot of going on, and Lego surely didn't want to release a lot of new parts dark green for this one specifically. Like it released some new dark green parts for this one, but still it wasn't enough to make this model better. And also, I'm not really a big fan of the prints that are like aged poorly. So yeah, it's for me maybe top of the D tier or low of the C.
All right, so I think that is going in C tier.
Yeah.
Put it. I feel like it looks a little bit better than Jesko. So
Yeah, I think an average would be top of C. Yeah.
next up, the Lamborghini Countach. In my opinion, one of my favorite Speed Champion sets. More because of the car choice than the actual set. The set is done quite well. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. There's like the half aqueduct, and then there's the. I think the interior. I remember correctly, the interior on this one's a bit weird. Or maybe I'm thinking of the super.
Yeah.
I'll be getting mixed up. But a lot of cool techniques used, especially around the back. I'm going to say top of A tier.
Yeah, it's nice to see such a iconic car made in the Speed Champions line. I think they did it pretty much. They did it justice. I think the front is a little bit too round, but it can be modded like very easily to just be a little flatter, and also the rear technique is really nice. So overall, it looks nice. So I'd give it probably an A tier.
I agree with A for the same reasons, really. The front doesn't really look Countach-like because it's just not square enough, as Owen said. But the technique for the tail lights is really nice. So it looks just, pretty solid overall, but not outstanding. So A tier.
Yeah, for me, same. High A tier. The back looks really good. One of the best Countach rear ends ever. I don't think a lot of mocks even improve on it. But the headlights are too high up, which I don't like, and the interior is a bit rushed, which are the little nitpicks that drag this model down. So A tier.
I can agree with like the previous judgment because like Lego employees has a lot of limitations when they work on the model, but this may be the best they could to replicate this car. Yeah, if you go with all other like mentioned, all other problems mentioned before, like yeah, you can improve the model further, but like it's just a matter of your parts being.
All right, so that I think is going into A tier. Next up, the AMG 2-pack with the AMG 1, and I'm about to say AMG 1 and AMG 2, but no, the AMG 1 and the AMG F1 car, or the Mercedes F1 car.
The Mercs.
Everybody calls it the Mercedes, the AMG F1 car. Anyway, I think it's pretty good. The F1 car is actually, I think it looks quite good. Looks a lot like an F1 car, not perfect, but a nice building experience, a lot of weird techniques, and it looks cool with the black and turquoise. AMG 1 is done, it's a very good building experience, a lot of weird, cool techniques. The final product, it looks, I don't know, this is a weird thing to say about Lego. It looks toy-like, I think, from the printed headlights compared to some of the other Speed Champions. But I think it's pretty good altogether. So I'm going to say low A tier for this one, honestly.
Yeah, I can't judge too harshly because I don't actually have this set. But I think it does look decent for a Speed Champion set at least. Just as of looks, I'd probably give it like a B, maybe a little bit of a higher B tier.
I completely agree with Cole with low A tier for all the same reasons he said.
Yeah, same. I think as well. Lego did embarrass themselves a bit with the Mercedes W12 or something, I think it is. I don't know. If you look at the modifications FH Bricks was able to make to it, which was pretty much fix the big issues with the Formula One driver, which set too low, and the nose switch was up too high. So the fact that those two elements are still able to be built accurately to what Lego did, while keeping the model strong, is probably the worst part about the set. However, the AMG One is kind of like the Challenger for me, where it had a lot of surprisingly good techniques, and I think the overall model looks good. Yes, it looks a bit toyish. Also, the stickered rear windscreen is a bit of a letdown, but still a very solid two-pack, fun builds, both of them. So a low A tier for me as well.
I can't say much about the set because I don't own it, but like by just judging by the looks, it's top of a B tier for sure. Like it has a lot of like interesting techniques just by looking at it. Like you can, if you're an experienced builder, you can definitely spot some interesting techniques being used in the model. So yeah, it's the top of a B tier.
All right, so that is going somewhere near the top of B tier. I think it's going to go.
No, I'd say low A tier because it's got 3 A tiers, I
Right,
think.
good point. All right, let's go on up.
Yeah.
Next up, the Aston Martin 2-pack, Vantage GT3 and Valkyrie AMR Pro. I think the Vantage is a pretty good build. It's like I'd say it's an A tier build in itself. A lot of cool techniques used. Looks pretty cool with the gray and green. Valkyrie, not so much. It looks rather awkward compared to a lot of these sets. I'd say it's a C tier. So I'm going to put it right in between it B, maybe middle of B, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say. The Valkyrie is kind of weird looking, just in the proportions and all that. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to say because I don't actually have the set, so I'd give it, just judging by looks, probably a B tier.
For me, I will put it in C, probably right at the top of C, because the Vantage, it looks really good when it's done, and although it's quite simple, it just works pretty well. Although that it does come quite a lot down to having the printed headlights, but it's got the nice shaped grille and nice colors, so that's a really good build. But the Valkyrie is just really, really bad. Like the proportions are completely wrong. Just doesn't really look like the real car at all. Like especially the wheels are just way too small. Like the real car has really big wheels. At least like there's a wheel and then hardly any bodywork above it. This one's got like 2 plates. It's crazy. So it has to go in C.
Yeah, for me, yeah, especially the Valkyrie just ain't it. Just a lot of really weird decision made that went set with that set, and also I think the Valkyrie is a set or a car, I should say, which is very relies its looks on the aerodynamics and then mostly the ground force aerodynamics with the Venturi tunnels and everything. And you can't really replicate that in a Lego set because you need a strong base. So I really don't understand why Lego made the decision to build this car. I don't know if Lego or if Aston Martin forced them to do this or something, but terrible model, really. Way too long as well. The cockpit is up too high. It's bad. Easily a D tier model for me. But the Vantage on the other end is actually a very good set. They got a brick built grille in there, which is really impressive. And they did a lot of shaping very nicely, like the flared wheel arches and everything. I do think that while that model brings this 2-pack up a lot, I still think, if I compare it, for example, to the Jaguars, where we have 2 pretty decent looking sets, here we have a good looking model, which isn't particularly interesting, and just a terrible model. So I'd say the lowest of B tiers.
I cannot much I can just agree with what the Nat said because the Valkyrie is the weakest link in this 2-pack, like that just completely crushes the overall rating of the set. So I can just I don't know what to add, so let's just it be in a low B tier.
Yep.
Next up, another Aston Martin, the DB5. Now, this is actually quite a nice building experience. At least they use some good techniques around the front and the rear. I like the bumpers and stuff. But I think somebody said this the previous time we attempted to record this video, that it looks Playmobil with the printed headlights and the big printed windscreen part, and it just looks it's so smooth all around. doesn't look Lego, which is a weird thing to say because you think you would want that. But yeah, a couple cool new pieces, a couple cool techniques. D tier.
Yeah, I completely agree with like the like weird Playmobil look at the set. Like I feel like just the reasons it uses like a lot of like big pieces that are like printed and that just really like don't look that good. The like rear windshield just looks really pretty hideous in my opinion, and also the front obviously is just like too flat and way too like sticker or print heavy, I guess. Um, yeah, I think it's nice that they decided to make like a movie car, but for a first attempt, it's not very good. So I'd give it a probably a C tier.
This has got to go in D, surely. I mean, it just looks really, really bad. Like, yeah, the techniques are quite nice and it's done quite well, actually, which is, of course, important, but it's just inexcusable how bad it looks. Because, as Owen said, like, things just, like, all rely on prints, which, you know, is never a good thing. It just wouldn't be recognizable at all without prints. Like, seriously, how would you know what it was?
True.
And you know how I've said some other cars look like just a big block, right? Stacked bricks. This is just like a big block, but it's just been sanded a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's really smooth and just rounded, but not sort of curvaceous like the real car is. Yeah, D, all the way.
Yeah, absolutely agree, D tier. If I can quote Martin Brundle here, I haven't been this disappointed since Shrek 2. For all you F1 fans out there. Yeah, I mean the DB5 is my favorite car, so I was so much looking forward to this one. I already built my own, so I was seeing what Lego could do. Really looking forward to it, and it's terrible. It's got prints everywhere. I hate how you have the little brackets which hold the rear lights, which stick out from the very curved shoulder line. It's such a bad set. It's D tier. It's come on, Lego. Come on. What are you doing?
What can I add about the set? Like, I don't know what to add. It just feels like some kind of. It doesn't feel like they own set. It doesn't feel like Lego. It feels like kind of an off-brand. Like Kobe does similar things to their car models, like with a lot of single-purpose molds. Like for example, this rear part of the roof line, like which is like not really useful for the other cars, only for the DB9s, DB5. I'm sorry. So yeah, like it's a D tier. Like it's a complete disaster.
All right, that will be going in D tier then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I agree with you indeed, Elijah. It does look like Kobe. It looks like Kobe, absolutely.
Yeah. I saw some of the.
And I hate Kobe.
Job.
Kobe is the worst, man. Absolutely.
Next up, Dom's Charger from some, I guess it's the original Fast and Furious movie. I don't know. I never watched them. I think it looks pretty cool. It's quite nicely detailed, especially around the front. The interior's got some cool details, roll cage and stuff. I think it's too big. I don't own this one, but it just looks too big from all the pictures I've seen of it, especially in the rear. I'm gonna give this one a B tier, maybe middle of B.
I would probably give this one an A. I actually really like just how it looks and how they got the shaping done. I mean, obviously it's like it's not too boxy, but it's fairly boxy compared to other cars. So it translates, I guess, better into Lego. But yeah, overall, I give it an A just because of the looks.
This is hard for me to judge because I haven't built it, and also I just don't really like this type of car that much. So I don't know. I think I'll just pass because I can't really judge it properly.
I think this car was, for me at least, kind of safe because it was released with the, once again, awful DB5. And that kind of distracted from the fact that this model to me also actually is pretty bad. Which once again is a big disappointment for me because both the DB5 and the Charger are my two favorite cars in real life. So the fact that they came out in one wave made me a very happy person until I saw the models. Because this one also, again, like the front is good, The blower on top is a bit oversized, but it's alright, and it's got a really nice interior. I think both models from the Wave actually excelled at that. But the more you get to the rear, the worse it gets with the exhaust sticking out and making the rear look really plump. And also it's sloping down too much, and the roof, which is just a big slab on the ANC pillars. So there's a lot of awkward shaping on this one. I think especially if you look from it from the side, where it really looks ugly. Yeah, so I'd say a mid C tier actually. It's not as bad obviously as the DB5, but I think this one is a bit overappreciated.
I think like the model itself looks just too cartoonish with this like proportions, the usage of those giant parts like this slope used to form the rear part, like kind of make it the model feels like a Duplo set. So yeah, I own like 3 of these sets for alternatives and like 1 for the collection, but I just don't really like how bad proportions are and how cartoonish the model looks. Like while the Toretto looks like a serious driver who like protects his family, the car looks I don't know, just too cartoonish.
Pretty much describes the Fast and Furious franchise, actually.
All right, I think that'll be going.
Maybe the last movies, not the first one.
I think.
I actually quite like the last one, but
I feel it's better than Aston Martin's and Baby Jag.
Didn't watch.
Next up, the A12 Competizione. A pretty good set. I feel like it reminds me of the Supra a lot. I think it's better than the Supra, but it's a very similar shaped and sized car. Although it does not feel overscaled like the Supra does. Makes good use of new parts like the wedges in the front and the fenders with the new lower fender design, and the exhaust system with the stud shooters is really good. I'm going to give this one a low A, honestly, because it's pretty well done.
Yeah, as Cole said, this model is like a nice way to debut the new parts, especially the new fenders. I think they really integrated really well into the front. Yeah, and it just looks pretty sleek and smooth in my opinion, which I don't know, almost makes it look a little bit less Lego, like sort of more like a I don't know. I guess it is a toy, but like less like Lego, if that makes sense. But overall, I think that does make it look pretty good. So I give it an A tier.
Judging this only on looks because I haven't built it, I would say like low A because, as you said, it makes good use of the new pieces and just looks, pretty smooth and pretty accurate. Really, doesn't really rely on stickers. I mean, it does for the stripe, but if the stripe isn't there, it should look fine as well, right? Especially since you can replace the windscreen with the F8 windscreen, so you can just make a stripeless one, which is always nice. So yeah, just pretty solid. So low A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, this one was kind of the vanilla model of the last Wave, where it's good and everything. It's got a lot of nice stuff about it, especially again with the rear end, with the funny shaped boot, and the exhaust, obviously with the stud shooters. Well, in those areas, this model is really good. But the overall building experience, besides those elements, isn't really all that interesting. It's got some sharp angles where I think it should be a bit more curved. But other than that, there isn't really anything bad about it. But not really anything too special about it either. But I still think that all of that doesn't take away from the fact that it's still a pretty decent one, and for me a low A tier, definitely.
Yeah, for me, I was actually pretty surprised with the model. Like the shaping is pretty smooth. Like it does really good job with utilizing some of the new parts. The only complaint about the model is the print used for the tail lights. Like if it's messed up, it makes the car rear look like someone sticked a bunch of googly eyes for the DIY projects on it.
All right, next up, Pagani Utopia. I think this is a pretty good set. If it did not have the slightly wacky looking headlight print, I would say A tier. I would say high B. It's got some very good techniques. I really like. I think it's the dark nougat or dark orange. I'm not really sure which one. Interior, which looks really good. Headlight. I mean, not headlight. Canopy print is a bit weird. I'm gonna say high B.
Yeah. As you already said, the front looks pretty goofy with those printed headlights, but I honestly don't think there's like a really great way to make those headlights in Lego without doing a print. Like I've seen other modifications that people do, and they just don't look like really that good in my opinion. So in that aspect, it's not terrible. Not a huge fan of the windscreen print, as you already said, Cole. It looks kind of weird, but but with all that said, I'd give it probably a B tier.
I think I'll go B as well because kind of tears me apart this one because I really don't like the real car, how it looks, and I also.
Oh yeah, you would have
like
Pagani hater, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn you.
But at the same time, I have to admit, it's got some like pretty nice techniques, and it actually does a pretty decent job of representing it. But still, it's really ugly, so it has to be in B.
Oh god. Well, for all you Pagani fans out there, I actually do like this one. Also the brand, obviously. It's almost S tier for me. I do indeed think the one thing that brings it down for me is the printed headlights, because yeah, I can understand why they went for them. I think it's very unavoidable, but I do think I don't know who they hired for the graphic design of the headlights, but there's a bit too much going on. The most recognizable part about the headlights should be the little rounded lights in the I don't know, is it plastic or glass compartment? But they go around with making some wavy lines around it and everything, and it's a very busy print, which kind of takes away from the actual headlights. I think that's the worst thing about this model, just the way the print look for the headlights. But other than that, they pretty much nailed the shapes, I think. I know a lot of people say the back is too oversized, but I think I like the kind of caricatured design of it. I think it's not really that bad. And again, like it's such a complex car to recreate. We see how they could do that in any other way. So the highest of A tiers for me, though, controversially.
I think, like in my opinion, like this car pretty much deserved the A tier. Like despite being like look a little bit squashed, like those prints make the car look like it was, I don't know, run over by some kind of construction site equipment, like because of how headlights are stretched by. Despite of this, like this model has a really, really detailed interior, which I really like. Till this set, I own it, and I really know what I'm talking about. And the only thing I can really complain about this set is the print used for the exhaust. Yeah, it looks not just good enough. Yeah.
Probably gonna be the top.
I put it behind the Dragster, I think. Yeah.
That makes sense. I'd say the Challenger is
Yeah.
generally better.
I'm surprised how high up the F8 Tributo is still, actually. That's just me.
Next up, the Porsche 963. A cool car choice. I mean, they've done this before, but I never really cared about it before. But now I care, and I think it's cool. But they went for like a modern race car. I think the model looks okay. There are a couple really good mocks out there by various people, including SFH, who was supposed to be on this call, but unfortunately, that's a long story. I won't bother explaining that to the viewers. So yeah, it looks pretty good. The side skirts are a bit too high, but other than that, I don't really have any complaints. I don't own it. Well, I do own it, but I never built it. A lot of stickers. I think it's fine. I'm gonna say high B because again, it's not perfect, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't have a huge opinion on this one because I don't actually have it, and I'm not like I guess a huge fan of like the real car. I don't really follow like the real car, but I mean, judging by looks, I'd give it probably somewhere in the B tier.
I'll say C tier because bearing in mind that I also haven't built this, but just from what I can see, it's really dependent on stickers. Although I'm not gonna blame anyone too much for that because I don't know how you would make it look good without stickers, really, because it's such a crazy livery on the actual car. As Cole said, side skirts are too high, which is quite a big thing because it's a race car. It should like have low side skirts. And it just looks all right, but like the whole back wing section is really thick, even though on the real car, it's really thin. So that's a bit of a downside. So yeah, not terrible like the DB5, but pretty bad. So C.
Yeah, I agree. It's C tier. It's a very big disappointment. I do like they got the headlights and the rear lights brick built. Like it relies on stickers, but only for delivery basically, which is understandable. I don't really think we should judge the set on that. But like you said, Leo, the side skirts is just ridiculously high up, which really brings the model down for me. It's a very uneventful build as well, a lot of stacking and stuff. The cockpit area, it's a nice new piece, and that's all good and well, but it's way too short. What should I say? Too narrow. And the rear has some nice stuff as well, some very satisfying techniques, but it doesn't really scream Porsche 963 for me. So I'd say a C tier as well. I'd put it probably before the Evija. Yeah, but it's not really the disappointment of 2023 for sure. Actually, no, that's the next one.
Oh, I think I'm not really like a huge fan of Le Mans, and like can't really judge about like how model is accurate and like how good it is, and like did it use the correct livery for this year. But yeah, for a Le Mans car, it looks like a Le Mans car, and like I can't really complain much about it. Like Lego always has some limitations, and yeah, if you need a more accurate model, as it was said before, just call SVH Bricks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's going to be, I think it's going to be like top C, bottom of D, average of that. Next up, the R34 Skyline GTR from Too Fast, Too Furious. It's not a very, I don't like the way it looks I don't like the way this model looks. It looks like a GTR. I mean, you look at it and like, okay, that's a GTR, but like it's too long. It's got a lot of studs in the hood. The rear of the cabin is also too long because of the wheelbase being too long. There are a lot of cool techniques used though. The rear looks really good. It's just a very nice building experience with the front weird thing going on there, and the whole rear assembly is very interesting. And the interior is very nice. A lot of cool details in there. But I'm going to say C tier, honestly, because...
Yeah, I think there are a lot of good aspects about this car, and also like a lot of bad ones that kind of bring it down. Like as you said, Cole, the rear looks really good and really accurate. I think a lot of mock builders actually use that same rear, so it looks pretty good. The front, I actually kind of like the front. It's like unique, and I think it looks like pretty recognizable and accurate in my opinion. But yeah, the canopy is just way too long. It just looks not like a sports car, more like a sedan. And also the studs on the hood definitely make it look like too blocky and just weird. But it is a good parts pack. I think it has a lot of like chrome parts, and also the wheels are nice. So I guess with all that said, I'd probably give it like somewhere in like a high B tier.
I'll agree with Owen. Pretty much everything he said is what I'd say as well. I'll just add that it's just a bit annoying that you have to have those stickers on the side. So, and if you don't apply them, then the wheel arches have like slight weird prints on them, which wouldn't really match up with anything. But yeah, it just looks all right, interesting, but yeah, lots of studs, a bit too long, so not perfect at all.
Yeah, I think for me it's a C tier actually. I don't know why, but Lego just really seems to drop the ball on movie cars. I don't know why, but they do that. And JDM cars actually as well, because yeah, it's too long. The cockpit is also too long. I think was it SC Bricks who did a very nice modification of it, where he shrunk the cockpit area a little bit, which made a huge improvement. And I don't really know why Lego didn't go with that, but there you go. The wheel arches, obviously, with the studs, kind of a shame they released this one just before they gave us the new wheel arches, which could have prevented most of these studs from appearing. So yeah, not really anything new to add to what you guys said. So stay tuned for me.
I can add much about this model. Like it just feels like a disappointment for me because like I was really hyped up when it was first leaked, the name of the set, and really wanted to see how it would look like. And then we got this like I don't know what to just add. Like yeah, the stickers has some problems with the colors and like this is not a really accurate model. So it maybe goes into the lowest of the C tiers because yeah, it's good enough to be in C, not in D.
All right, so I think the average of all of those will be the top of C tier. And we are on to our last set, which is the 2-pack of McLaren's the Solus NEF1. You guys know how this is going to go. It's S tier. F1, good car
Yeah.
choice, good build.
Please.
Solus is cool car, but really good build. I haven't built it myself. I only built the F1. But yeah, S tier.
Yeah, I'd agree. Maybe I might give it an A tier. I think, yeah, both cars are really great builds. I built both of them. The F1, it's just really good looking, and it's another one of those like iconic cars that Lego I think did justice. The sides are, I'm not a huge fan of like the studs on the sides, and I think they could have possibly, like made that more smooth. But and also the Solus is a nice build. It kind of surprised me with how many like techniques and just how like entertaining the build was. And overall, I'd give it, yeah, probably a high A tier. Honestly.
Easy S tier for me. Just shy of the fours, but like really, really good. I could go on for a while talking about how good this is. It's got two good models, both of which are really fun to build and look good as well. Some, well, great selection of parts, including some recolors and all that good stuff. So it's just a great set to have, and looks good, fun to build. So really good. I mean, you can, as you probably know, I like the color orange, Lego orange. So that's always a bonus for me. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I agree. Definitely the weakest of the S tiers, I think, because while the F1, I think, is one of the better speed champions we've ever had, I think the Solus, it's good. It's got a very good build, very fun. I'd still probably rank it as an A tier on its own, but there are some, restrictions again, Lego-related restrictions, where the model really does suffer a bit, especially with the front wheel or slopes, I should say, over the wheel arches, because they look very thick and they give it a bit of a toyish vibe to it. But other than that, it's a really fun build. Got a lot of stuff going on. I really like how they do their the area behind the rear window. That for me was a very un-Lego-like connection. They did a really nice job with that. And with the F1, there isn't really a lot more to say than it's one of the better speed champions. I wouldn't say it's the best. I think both the Fords are better and the 512 as well actually is better. But it's a great model. And I think overall, yeah, definitely an S tier 2 pack.
The thing, I wasn't expecting much about this set, but then when I got it and built it, it definitely an S tier. It has a lot of interesting techniques. The building process is really fun and interesting, and like yeah, the F1 definitely deserves an S tier as well as a Solus because like despite this car being like just a bit something unusual for the Lego Speed Champions team, Lego captured it pretty well with using all those techniques which make the model more interesting to build. So I think the problem with the set is that the Solus is just a bit underrated, and the F1 puts a giant shadow over it.
Interesting. I think that is going to go at like back of S tier. Judging by averaging all those. All right, so there we have our Lego Speed Champions 8 wide set tier list. So thank you guys so much for sitting around and giving your opinions on these sets. And just like that, we are back. So again, massive thanks to Nard, Owen, Leo, and Ilya for being in this video and ranking the sets and sitting around for like 2 hours to do all this. I highly recommend you follow each one of them on all the internet stuff, so go do that. I'll link to them down below. Again, link to the tier list down below as well if you should like to try and rank these yourselves. If you want me and the others to see what your tier lists look like, join the Discord and post them in there or something. We'll probably end up seeing them. And with that is it for today's video. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to be back to more normal videos, but if you guys enjoy the different videos, let me know. And with that, I hope I'll see you guys next time.